We have a responsibility. An atheist to the bone had come to make Callaway once. After going on and on, he finally told me, "You know, I am an iconoclast." He believed in nothing and yet he claimed to be an iconoclast. So I told him, "You godless fellow, how can you talk to me about being an iconoclast when you believe in nothing?" At the time of the iconoclastic controversy, some Christians fell into error through excessive zeal and went to the other extreme. But then the church resolved this issue. It was never a matter of not believing in God. He then went on to support the present situation. And then I really became angry with him. "How can the present situation be acceptable to you?" I told him. "Judges afraid to judge, indictments against criminals withdrawn because someone or another threatens them. Who is running the country? Are you comfortable with this situation? If you support such people, you're a criminal yourself. Why did you come to me? Get out of here." And I sent them away. Geronda, aren't you afraid to speak like that? What is there to be afraid of? I have already dug my grave. If I had not dug my own grave, then I would be concerned about the person who would tire himself digging it. As it is now, someone only has to throw in a few shovelfuls of soil. I have in mind another atheist, a blasphemer, who has said the most blasphemous things about Christ and Panagia, one who is permitted to appear on television. Even the church does not take a stand to excommunicate some of these people. Such people should be excommunicated, but the church seems reluctant to do so. Geronda, what would be accomplished with an excommunication when these people do not believe in anything anyway? It will at least show that the church has taken a stand on that matter. Geronda, is the silence of the church an indication of approval? Yes. Someone wrote some blasphemous things about Panagia and no one spoke up. Then I told someone, "Did you see what so-and-so has written?" And he told me, "Well, what can you do with those people? You will get soiled if you try to deal with them. They are afraid to speak up." What did he have to fear, Geronda? That people might write something about him and ridicule him in the press. And so he tolerates blasphemous things about Panagia. We want others to pull the chestnuts out of the fire so that we can have our peace of mind. This indicates a lack of love. That man begins to act out of self-interest. This is why we see an all too familiar spirit today. Get to know so-and-so because he will then speak well of you. Be on good terms with so-and-so and he will not speak badly of you, and so forth. After all, we must not be taken for fools. We must not become victims. Another person remains indifferent and does not speak up. "I do not speak out," he says, "so that I won't be written up in the newspapers." In other words, most people are completely indifferent. For a long time, no one would write anything, but now some little effort is being made. Years ago, I had scolded someone on the holy mountain. "You are over-patriotic," he retorted. Not too long ago, he came back to find me and say, "They have destroyed everything, family, education," and I, in turn, told him, "You are over-patriotic." This whole situation has led to one bad thing and one good thing. The bad thing is that indifference has overtaken so many people who used to have something in them, but who now just say, "Who am I to solve the situation?" The good thing is that many people who are beginning to be troubled and to change for the better. Some even come to me and seek to justify a bad thing they did previously because they are now troubled by it. Geronda, are we then always to confess our faith? Discernment is needed. There are times when we should not speak out, and other times when we should confess our faith with courage. Otherwise, we will bear a responsibility for not speaking out. During these difficult years, each one of us must do whatever is humanly possible. Whatever is not humanly possible, leave it to God. This way we will have a clear conscience that we did what we could. If we do not resist these evil things, our ancestors will rise up from their graves against us. They endured so many hardships for their homeland, and what are we doing for it? Greece, Orthodox Christianity, with her sacred tradition, her saints and heroes, is under attack by the Greeks themselves, and we do not speak out. It is a terrible thing, I told someone. Why don't you speak out against what so and so is saying? And he replied, what can one say? That person is totally depraved. If he is totally depraved, all the more reason to speak out and strike him down. They do nothing. They let him go on with his depravity. I actually spat at one of the politicians in disdain. Say at least that you do not agree. Be forthright. Your attitude is that as long as you are all right, everything else can be ruined. If Christians do not confess their faith, if they do not react, such people will do even worse things. But if they react, then they'll think twice about it. But I suppose many Christians nowadays are not made for battles. The early Christians were tough nuts. They transformed the world. And during the Byzantine period, if even one icon was removed from the churches, the people rose up and protested. Here Christ was crucified so that we may be resurrected, and we remain indifferent. If the church does not speak up so as to avoid a conflict with the state, if the metropolitans do not speak up in order to be on good terms with everybody, and especially with those who help them with the church foundations, if the monks of the Holy Mountain do not speak up for fear of losing their subsidies, who is going to speak up? I told one of the abbots, if they threaten to cut off your subsidy, tell them, we will then no longer provide hospitality to the pilgrims, so they will think twice about that. The professors of theology also do not speak out against these abuses. They reason, we are civil servants, we will lose our salary, and how are we then to live? In the meantime, the monasteries have been caught up with the pensions. Why do you suppose that I do not want to receive even the small pension from the farmers' insurance fund? It is not honorable for a monk to be insured as a farmer. To be insured as an indigent, yes, I can see that it honors the monk. But to be insured as a farmer, why? A monk has disclaimed fat pensions, abandoned the world, and come to the monastery to receive a pension. We betray Christ for a mere pension. Geronda, is it acceptable for a nun who may have worked as a teacher for some years to receive her rightful pension? Well, that's all right. But let me tell you, by giving this pension where it is needed, the nun will receive a good pension from Christ.